So, one of my fellow YouTubers, Hemingway Jones, was complaining about the capital letter D in cursive and how to make it interesting. And he was saying vaguely, roughly, that he sort of was using the alphabet, the letter forms that we all learned in grade school. So this is pretty close to the ones that I learned, though some differences I am seeing here. But the D is pretty ugly here. There's just nothing about that looks good. And I normally like D's, so how do I do them? Dr. and Mrs. Okay, why are we skipping? Is that how I make a D? I think, that looks pretty good. It's so difficult to know how to tell people how to write a letter. Okay, why is this doing this? Drives me crazy. Keeps sounding like it's going in and out of power. Drives me nuts. So, a D, rather than doing it the way they do it here, where they have a big loop down here and then a stupid loop there. This is how they have it on this chart. And of course that looks awful. It's awful. I think pulling the arc of the D forward past past the vertical line is the way to do it. And whether you have a loop at the bottom or whether you don't have a loop at the bottom, is up to taste. I really want to know why this is skipping. Is it the paper? Another thing I would do is be consistent throughout your letter you're writing, with all the words. Be consistent with how you make the letters. If you make an M like this one time and you make it like this another time, I might first see that as some sort of U, maybe, rather than an M, because the M's look like this. So I guess I would be consistent. I'm not in what I do, but I'm special. Now when I write an address an envelope, I might use two different M's. I might do Mr. What is wrong with this pen or this ink or my life? I might say Mr. and Mrs. John Mulligan. I might switch M's, but again, it's not something you were reading like a page in a letter where you are trying to pay attention to the gist of the message you're reading, and you don't want to have to trip over a word because it has a letter that doesn't look right. Another thing I would recommend for anyone that's trying to improve their handwriting, not learning a new script style necessarily or to do calligraphy, but just your regular improving your own handwriting, might be to be consistent with how you make letters that are similar. Hi there, Will. So what I would say would be to be consistent. Let's say you have a P and an R. They're essentially the same letter form with except the addition of this thing. So if you make your P like this, you should make your R like that. Just adding the tail. If you make your P like this with 2 lines, 1, 2, make your R like that. How do they make their P and R on this one? God, they make an awful P. They make it like this. They go up, down, around. I guess that's not necessarily bad. Oh, they cross the line there. So, oops. God, I can't write today. They make it like that. So make the R the same way. You start with the P, add the R. So, so what other letters are like P and R then in the alphabet? The B is kind of like a P and an R. Comes up, down, over, and then they do this, which is the way I learned how to make a B when I was in school. The S is made the same way with that line that goes, does that, and the I does that. Those 3 letters have that in common. So I guess my advice would be to have a consistency throughout your letters. I know that Hemingway Jones was talking about the different ways he makes A's and B's and things like that. All that's fine. I'm just wondering whether some of that might lead to making it hard to read. In the case in point with the M, is your M's look like that, or do they look like this? And then if you do make an M that looks like that, make the N the same way. Don't make an N like this, because you won't read it as an N if you have an M there, I don't think. Will Hodge says, I cheat sometimes using stub nibs. Need all the help I can get. Well, stub nib is handy because it does provide you with a variation in line automatically. You can't help but have it in there, have it happen. So you don't have to press down to get the variety of line. This alphabet also has a lot of these little loops that start a letter. So any, like the M, or the Y, or the Q, the U, T, they all have this little loop. And I don't know why we were taught to do that. Maybe just to lead into the rest of the letter. I don't know why Palmer decided that was necessary to have that little loop, but it's there. Do you use it all the time? I don't know. There's problem letters for me are the E and the C. And the E and the C are essentially the same shape. You have a circular curve, and then you have two circular curves, essentially, for the E. Now, of course, there's loops and overlaps and all that other kind of stuff that you can have and trail off. But I learned, or I saw Hemingway Jones yesterday. He did something interesting with this E, which I think he should do on the C as well. He went up here like this and then down like that. Up, over, and over for the E, except he made it better. I don't know. Did he make a loop first up at the top? He had a line leading up. I'd have to see again how he started with an upstroke line, which I thought was really, really interesting. I've never made an E like that, but I have made a C like that. I have made a C that works that way. And I love that C. I saw it in an old account registry book from 1890. And the word cash advanced or whatever it was on the top of the page. This beautiful curved letter, curved line that went up and then down. And the same thing can happen with an E, though I've never done an E that way, but Hemingway Jones sort of had. So I figure maybe I can do the same thing. I usually like to have something, or often I'll do this. I'll pull it in from the side. That's kind of how I do it most of the time. Is trail this line in. I like it better than the loop idea. I think part of it is I like a letter that has a curve that changes a direction. A C and an E, it's always doing the same thing. It's always curling in the same direction. Whereas if you can do this first and then change direction, up, you have this kind of a curve and that kind of a curve, up, down, down. I think is kind of neat. Or this way, up, down, down. This curve is different from these. There's more curves there. Oh God, I know. I bought a box of paper. This is the paper I bought, and I'm hoping it will work for a print job I have, because it has a little bit of texture to it. It's thin. It's thick enough to be cardstock, but it's thin enough that it does go through my printer. So now I'm able to actually provide the printing for this job I have to do. So yay. It's watercolor paper. It's $1 a sheet. I bought 100 sheets, but the sheets are big. This is cut down. The sheets are 18 by 24. So I should be able to get 3 at least maybe 4, depending. Prints out of it. Here's 18 by 24, 18. 7 goes into 24, 5 goes into 24 4 times. So I should be able to get four cards out of this job, and then I'll trim it down. The unfolded card is 5 by 14 inches, so I should be able to get 4 things out of this. But I have to print on 2 sides, so I'm pretty sure it'll work. But if this paper continues to be good and work for me, I'm going to order another couple of $100 worth of it, because the finding paper that is this color and has a little tiny bit of a texture to it is something that I need for jobs I do. So Will Hodge, are you going to buy one of my books? I'm sorry that I think you said you wanted to once upon a time, and then I got sidetracked, and then summertime happened, and I came back, and it's just been, yeah, the good stuff dries up. I know that there's the printer I use. The printer I used to use is a Epson C88, and it was great. It could print really thick cardstock. It was really a nice printer, and then they stopped making them, and they made crappy printers. So I went online, and I found on Amazon I could buy unused ones. They couldn't buy them from Epson, but I could buy them on Amazon, and I bought maybe 9 of them over the years. There was some, at one point I had 4 of them here in the studio without even opening the boxes. They were nice, they were safe and sound, and now I go online and I can buy them for $1,000 for used ones. So other people like that printer too, I guess, because it works so well. The new printer that they make doesn't take as thick a paper, and I have to feed each one individually, which is a pain in the neck, sort of pushing it in. So just see what's people are talking to me here. Anyway, I think I'll just cut this one short. So we'll talk. And I'll talk to you later. Well, bye.